The girl in the white shirt, as soon as she saw the little evil coming, immediately begged, "This son save me, they. She was like a frightened bird, and her words could no longer be arbitrary, and she was very pitiful. The man named Ah Fu took her hand and shouted, "You don't give me any screams, don't toast, and don't eat and drink." He didn't do anything about the arrival of the little evil, and he didn't see anyone at all. Xiaoxie saw that he knew the reason. He laughed and said, "It turned out to be a good woman, okay, haha." He stopped first to see how people played the game. He didn't want to save it, but he wanted to see something new and save it. Xiao Ding also rushed over, and when she saw Xiaoxie like this, she immediately shouted, "Xiaoxie! You can save people!" She was very anxious. As long as Xiaoxie was there, she had forgotten that she also had martial arts and could come to the rescue. She had regarded Xiaoxie as a master of everything, and ignored herself. Xiaoxie secretly screamed and discouraged, picked up the stone and hit the Ah Fu without saying a word, just like beating a dog. His heart was not flustered, his hands were not shaking, and he was calm, as if this kind of thing was normal. Ah Fu didn't expect that the little evil would suddenly come to this trick. It was too late to avoid it. Wow! The head bag had been hit. The blood was all over the face. The right hand had already loosened the girl in the white shirt. Xiao Ding copied the body, and had brought the girl in white behind the little evil. The little evil laughed and said, "Little bastard, why are you beaten to the head by the bird poop eggs flying in the sky in broad daylight?" He was sarcastic. Although Ah Fu's head was broken, the anger was not small, and the angry shouts had rushed towards the little evil, and the two fists were a little hot. The little evil dealt with these little gangsters, but they were easy to serve at the table, and it was extremely relaxed. I saw his figure to the left, hooked his right foot, and immediately knocked Ah Fu to the ground, and then turned over, already pressed on Ah Fu's back like Mount Tai, and hit Ah Fu's ass fiercely with the left and right bows, so that Ah Fu wow wow screamed and burst into tears, and the little evil smiled and said, "The child doesn't learn well, the boss has made a mistake, it should be beaten, it should be beaten." Every time he hit, Ah Fu screamed "Ah!" At this time, the fat powder boy saw that the situation was not good, and he had already taken out a fan and covered the little evil with great speed. Xiao Ding saw that the situation was critical, and immediately shouted, "Xiaoxie, watch the back." Xiaoxie looked at it reflexively and said, "Oh, there are still comrades in the original family, and we will repair it together." He let go of Ah Fu, and with a move of Milk Swallow Homecoming and Day Feng Dry Lotus had avoided that fan like a swimming dragon, and cut off a little backhand. He had knocked the fan to the ground, and stood in front of him leisurely, and the young man was startled and immediately picked up the fan, glaring at the little evil. The little evil laughed, waved his hand, and shouted, "Wow Jia Jia! I don't know if you are a man or a woman, oily hair and powder, rouge and blush, are you a psychopath, or a she-male?" The young man said angrily, "Who are you who dares to care about the affairs of my Huashan faction? You don't want to live, do you?" He had already brought out the Huashan faction, one of the 9 major sects in the world, to show that he was not small. It's a pity that Xiaoxie is the leader of the all-in-one gang. He is not ambiguous. He pretended to be surprised and scared and said, "Huashan, it turned out to be the Huashan faction. I'm sorry, please forgive me for being reckless." he apologized. As soon as the young man saw that he was afraid of the prestige of the Huashan faction, he immediately shouted arrogantly, "This radius of 200 miles is the sphere of influence of the Huashan faction. You dare to provoke this young master? You are impatient, aren't you?" The little evil said, "Young master, I don't know that you are the young master of Huashan, so I offended you. Please don't remember the villain." Xiao Ding looked at it and shouted, "Xiaoxie, what's wrong with you?" She thought that Xiaoxie was afraid of offending the Huashan faction. Xiaoxie smiled bitterly, "Xiao Ding, I can't afford to mess with the Huashan faction, I think we should go away." Xiao Ding Qi said, "Little evil, how can you be so spineless?" When the young man saw Xiao Ding's peerless appearance, he was already lustful, and he smiled and said, "This girl, Qing Jishan, feel ashamed for you to have such a friend. Why don't you be friends with me?" He shook a big fan, looking like a disciple. Xiao Ding said angrily, "Don't you think about it." She turned her head and shouted to Xiaoxie, "Yang Xiaoxie, you are so bad, I will ignore you." After saying that, he took the woman and was about to leave. Xiaoxie smiled and said, "Xiao Ding, don't worry. Anyway, I am also a helper. That little watch said that it was the Huashan faction. I see that he is neither male nor female. I want to verify his identity. See clearly, this is not an offense to the Huashan faction, but to prove one thing. What are you anxious about?" Xiao Ding immediately laughed when she heard this. She knew that Xiaoxie was playing treasure again. Qing Jishan said angrily, "Boy, what did you just say? Men and women are not men." Xiao Ye glanced at him and smiled, "I said that you seem to be a woman dressed as a man. I want to see if you are a man or a woman, or…" He. His head has flashed a lot, eunuchs, she-males, transsexuals, and even he thought that Qing Jishan would have 10 eggs. Qing Jishan said angrily, "How can you not even know that I am the young head of the Huashan faction?" Although he was angry, he was still afraid of the martial arts of the little evil. "Don't dare to make a move." Little evil Dao, knowing is knowing, but it doesn't seem to be the same as you. How is it different, you say? The little evil shouted, "This is too much. The young head must be a man, and there is a she-male like you who is not cold lun or tired class, and is full of she-males." Qing Jishan was afraid to leave this place when he saw that Xiaoxie didn't eat this set, and he would make plans in the future. He shouted, "Xiao Biao, you remember it for me, the Huashan faction will not let you go. Fu, let's go." With that, he wanted to go to the left. The little evil bully grabbed and said, "Don't worry, if you want to leave, you have to wait until I see whether you are a man or a woman before leaving. How can you just leave? You dare!" He. Xiaoxie was very dissatisfied with this sentence. He had decided that there was nothing in the world that he didn't dare to do. He shouted, "I don't dare to finish the word." He was as fast as a hungry tiger pounced on a sheep, and brought a gust of wind to Qing Jishan, 1,000 fingers like a hook, brush, like 1,000 rounds of steel knife. Qing Jishan's whole body clothes were torn off, leaving only a pair of underwear. Xiaoxie saw that Qing Jishan's chest was flat, and said in disappointment, "Hey! It turns out that it is a bad development. No wonder you want to turn into a concubine to win by appearance." Qing Jishan was humiliated, and he was stunned. and he didn't know what to do. A disciple like him is full of power, and now that people don't eat him, he has no choice but to eat it. Although Xiao Ding and the woman felt a little embarrassed, they were also very happy, and they couldn't stop laughing. Xiaoxie smiled and said, "For the sake of so many girls here, I will no longer verify your eggs. Look at your virtue, male or female, female or female, a complete scumbag. I am too lazy to see you again, let me get away." Qing Jishan thought about revenge, and he said, "If you have the courage to leave your name, we will not change the green mountains, and the green water will flow for a long time." Xiaoxie said disdainfully, "Don't come with me like this. What kind of text to bite, what words to chew? Your eldest name is Yang Xiaoxie, next time you come again, he. I'll give you to you." He raised his hand again, and he was about to shake it. Qing Jishan was shocked, and immediately swept back, and shouted, "Yang Xiaoxie, let's take a look." Ah Fu saw him run away, and then chased after him. "Come back!" Xiaoxie roared. The sound was like a deep mountain bell, deafening, and immediately shook Qing Jishan and Ah Fu in place. Xiaoxie is very proud of his roar, and few people cannot be frightened by his voice, because he is not only loud, but the most important thing is that he is sudden, which is unguardable. Xiaoxie shouted again, and the bear's waist twisted. Changhong Guanri had shot towards Qingji Mountain, and with a flip of both palms, he sent two shattered sounds, and the two of them were quickly forced into the pool. He shouted, "Let's see, let's see, let's see. What are you playing? Swim back! I'll be angry at the thought of me." Xiaoxie was angered by Qing Jishan's sentence "let's see," and as soon as he got up, he forced people into the pool, and Qing Jishan and his follower of Fo were embarrassed and thrown to the grave.